could be another close one in Buenos Aires between Argentina and South Africa. My name's Mark, let's talk rugby. Argentina v South Africa. It is in the Estadio Jose Amalfitani in Buenos Aires. It's on Saturday 5th of August and kickoff is at 8:10 BST. So that clashes actually with the Ireland-Italy game, which starts at 8 o'clock. So at least for me, I'll be watching the Irish one. But I guess I don't know why. I don't know why in rugby we do this. Why have test matches starting at the same time? Especially when it's between tier 1 nations. I know there are other kind of ones with tier 2 and stuff on the day as well. I think there's a total of maybe 10 games on the whole day, but why not have this, at a slightly different time so that you could watch all of the games throughout the day? It's a little bit disappointing, but I definitely will be watching it, in full and not just highlights for that one, as long as I can find a full replay of it somewhere. But we're going to have a quick look at the teams, and then we'll look in a bit more detail at them after that as well. So start with the home team, Argentina. So we got front row of Gallo, Montoya and Gomez Cordella. Second row is Rubiolo and Lavanini. We've got the back row then, Mertera, Grondona and Gonzalez. Halfbacks are Bertrano and Carreras. Left wing is Cordero. We got centers, Chocobares and Cinti. We got Befeli on the right wing, and then Bogado at fullback. On the bench, then we have Creevy, Sclavi, Bello, Petty, Isa, Bazan Velez, Albanos, and Moroni. And then the Springboks have made a number of changes. I think they made 14 changes to their starting team or something like that, or 14 changes overall. But they've got Nyakane, Mbanambi and Thomas Dutoy as the front row. Then we've got Jean Klein and Marvin Ori in the second row. Back row is Dion Fori, Franco Mostart and Jasper Visa. Halfbacks, Cornus Reinark and Manny Lebok. Left wing is Makazola Mepimpi. Then we got Andre Esterhazen and Lacaniam in the centres. Got Kanan Mooney on the right wing and Damien Willemse at full back. On the bench then we got Dweba, Steenkamp, Koch, Dupree, Roos, Yanchis, Creel and Aronsa. So these two, they played last week in the Rugby Championship, and it was a close one in the end. I think it's 22-21 was the final score. Argentina scored towards the end to make it, a 1-point game, but there was no real kind of sense that they were going to come back and actually win the game in that one. I felt like, South Africa, they kind of got themselves a bit of a lead and then just allowed Argentina to come back into the game. It was very competitive. I thought both teams at the breakdown were, very aggressive at the breakdown. And I think both teams as well looked to move the ball when they had the chance to. So hopefully we're going to get some more kind of, exciting rugby and physical rugby as well between the two of them on Saturday. We'll have a closer look at the teams now. So Argentina, they got Gallo, Montoya and Gomez Cordella. So later on in the Rugby Championship, their front row really struggled in the scrums. This front row went a little bit better. I think the Springboks were kind of on top though still in that one, but it's better. I can't remember who the guys were that played against New Zealand, but they got absolutely destroyed in the scrum, whereas this one, I think at least on their own feed, they can, if they get the ball out quick enough, they can be okay, but they do need to be aware that you got to get the ball out quickly when you're under pressure as well. Being at home, it may not be as bad for them, and maybe they're going to be better performances anyway, and they're against a very different front row too, so there's a lot there. I thought Lavanini was excellent last weekend. Rubiolo not up to the same standard as Lavanini. I thought that the back row last week went well, so I'm expecting again like Mertera, Grondona and Gonzalez all to go well in this one. It's going to be fairly competitive there. Got a completely new South African back row coming up against him. Bertrand and Bazan Velez. I think they've switched now. I think Bazan Velez maybe started last week. But kind of fighting out, I think, for the 9 jersey. Looks like Santiago Carreras is maybe going to be the 10 from here out. May not play every game starting at 10, but I think he's probably maybe going to be first choice now. They've got a lot of experience in their back line as well, like in Cordero and Buffelli coming in there. But then, like, I thought Chocobaras and Cinti were decent in the centres last week as well. I thought Cinti had an excellent game. I think Bogado is, someone who needs to impress there with the chance of fullback. Then on the bench, you got the likes of Creevy, Sclavi and Bello all to come on. So like Creevy with tons of experience coming off the bench. Then you got Petty and Isa. I think 2 players who, they've got to. It's a chance for them, I think, to show what they can do against a decent Springbok side. Then we talked about Bazan Velez already. You got Albanos there. Yeah, Albanos and Carreras for the 10. I think it's between the two of those, but I think Carreras is probably going to be the 10 most. So I think Albanos will get another start before the Rugby World Cup. And you have Moroni to come on as well and show what he can do. Onto the Springbok team then. So the front row, you got Nyakane, Mbanambi and Thomas Dutoy. So I'd say Mbanambi is definitely going to the World Cup. The other two, they're in kind of a, they've got to put hands up, I think, in this one to show that they can go. Similar in the second row as well. You got Jean Klein there and Marvin Ori. Klein is probably like the second enforcer type after Etzebeth that they have in their squad. So he may get into the Rugby World Cup just based on that. Marvin Ori, I think, has been decent, but there's a lot of competition there. You got the likes of Sneyman as well pushing for positions. And, these two guys, I'm not sure that both of them are going to go to the Rugby World Cup, so we're going to have to keep an eye on that. Then the back row, then you've got Fourie, Mostert and Visa. We saw the likes of Peter Step-Toy and Vermeulen, who are beginning to get back up to the pace, I think, of Test Rugby. And given what they've done before in Springbok jersey, we're probably ahead of most of these guys, but still, it's a decent back row and they all have an opportunity to go to the Rugby World Cup. I think in the halfbacks then you got Reinark, you got Reinark, you had Grant Williams was supposed to start last week and only lasted like 10 seconds, and then de Klerk come on for him. So depending on how things go with Grant Williams, it might be de Klerk and Reinhardt who actually go to the Rugby World Cup, unless Williams can get back in and really show that he deserves to go as well. Manny Lebok, I think, for me at least, he's the Springbok 10 for the Rugby World Cup. You got Mapimpi there, who, I think coming into this season before the Rugby Championship probably would have been a starter on the wing, but I think that Curtly Arnsa is probably shown more in a Springbok jersey this season than he has. So Mapimpi has to take this chance, I think, to show that he can get back into form. Andre Esterhazen, I thought was decent. I think he started against the Wallabies, I want to say, but he looked pretty good there. The Kanyuam, he's a fantastic player, but Esterhazen, I think he's a different type of 12 to the other 12s that we've seen for the Springboks this year, and he's got to push his point there. Kenan Moody, the guy has bags of talent, and I think what he needs to do though is there's tons of competition for those wing spots. So he's got to be prepared to go look for work and not just kind of stay on his wing. And also he's got to show that he can defend as well. Damien Willemse, he's definitely going to go to the World Cup. He's at this thing where he's in between 10 and 15 at the moment, where he's probably, the backup to Lebok at the minute. And he's probably also the backup to Willie Leroux at 15. So he's probably going to end up being number 23 for the Springboks, at least starting in the Rugby World Cup. And then if either of those other two that I mentioned have a bad game, there probably will be calls for him to come into the starting lineup. Then on the bench, then you got Dweba. Dweba, he had a great season in the URC, but he is prone to making silly mistakes. I'd compare him to maybe Tom Stewart, who is on the bench for Ireland against Italy this weekend as well. Both, have an eye for the try line, and, they've got decent play around the park as well, but they give away silly free kicks and penalties. And both of them, I think, have got to eliminate that from the game and just bring the best of their game if they're going to force their way into the respective Rugby World Cup squads. Then Steenkamp, decent scrummager, going to be looking to come on and compete and show that he should be one of the props selected for the World Cup, similar to Vincent Koch as well, I think. Into then you got Jean-Luc Dupree. I think with so much talent there in the second row, he's probably one that would have to really outshine the others to kind of get further up that kind of pecking order. Evan Roos in the back row, kind of similar thing as well for him. I think that, there's so many established names there already, and you have these players trying to push their way into, and it's just, it's kind of like with a lot of Rugby World Cup squads, there seems to be tons of talent in the back row, and wherever Rugby World Cup squad you're going to pick, you're going to leave very talented players at home. So he has to, again, bring his A game if he's not going to be one of the ones to be left behind. Herschel Janchis, they're at 9. So, as I said, you got Williams, you got Faf de Klerk, you got Reinhardt. Janchis, he had a bit of trouble there kind of off the field and fell out of favour as well. He's got to kind of put that behind him and show that he has the talent, because he's got the likes of Grant Williams, if he does come back, showing that they can deliver for the Springboks as well. Jesse Creel, I think he's a decent, solid player, but if you're looking for kind of players to really bring the excitement, I think, Mapimpi on top form and Moody as well. And then you got the likes of Am and other centres as well that will kind of put it up to him. And then you got Aronson, who I think is definitely going to go to the World Cup, and he's probably in a fight with Mapimpi for that starting spot on the left wing. And I think he would be the one that I'd pick at the moment. So in terms of how do I think the game is going to go? Well, Argentina are at home. It was a close game last week. On the scoreboard, it was closer than it actually was, because Argentina scored right at the end. But still, I think that, home advantage and so many changes with the Springboks really does give Argentina a big chance here. They did get that win away to the Wallabies as well, but kind of find it with this Argentina team that they find it hard to back up good performances. They're almost like that they need a bad performance to spur them into a good performance. So given that they did perform very well, last week, I'm a little bit worried that they might actually be a little bit flat. Hopefully, being at home though, and with that crowd there to lift them, that they can actually produce a performance. I think this is going to be another tight one, whatever way it's going to go. I think it might be maybe higher scoring than the one that we saw last week. So probably, but not that much, maybe high 20s, low 30s for both teams. And it's only going to be a 1-score game. And for me, it's very hard to actually pick a winner. And just because, Los Pumas that are home, I'm going to back them to win by maybe a score.